Sir, we have Brandon Johnson, Mayor Brandon Johnson, on IAMDAD365. I welcome you.
Thank you.
I'm excited that you were able to give us this opportunity to show who you are as a person, first and foremost, as a dad, just as a human being,
Yeah.
more importantly. And I
Thank
just
you.
appreciate what you do for the city, what you do, seen and unseen. I appreciate your upbringings, because I had to take the time and get to know who you are, And what is it like? What is it like being married to the first Black First Lady of Chicago? What is that like?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for all the work that you are doing and this mission and vision around making sure that fathers are lifted up in this season, as well as encouraged in this season. Is a remarkable testament to your journey, and it is transforming lives. And I will say this: being married almost well over 25 years now, and to the love of my life, my best friend. And my wife was always teasing me when I won. She said, "You may have won, but I made history."
Right.
She is the first Black
Right.
lady in the history of Chicago. What it offers is our incredible journey to this point. I often talk about Jean-Baptiste Point du Sable and his love for Kitty Hawa, and a Black Haitian immigrant and an indigenous woman who established this city as the first Black family in the history of Chicago. And to be a part of that legacy is just, it's humbling. And of course, having a woman who loves me and loves God and loves our children, it's the greatest experience, quite frankly, that I've ever had is being loved and being in love, especially being in love and being loved by a Black woman.
Let's talk about your father, all right? Your dad worked tirelessly through various jobs to support your family. How did witnessing his determination and sacrifices shape your own work ethics?
Yeah, my father, first of all, he just celebrated a birthday and is a
Happy
year
birthday.
older. Yeah, but Dad is just an incredible human being. Right now, we're, surrounding him with as much love as we possibly can. He is dealing with Alzheimer's, and
Okay.
it's been an adjustment for all of us. I grew up, at a time when, life was difficult for families, particularly in the 80s. During the Reagan administration, public employees were attacked. And my father, who worked, as you have studied, multiple jobs. He was a pastor and a carpenter. I always tease when your father is a pastor and a carpenter, and these are pretty much just like Jesus. Right. So you're growing up in a household with someone who I saw as perfect. Right. And he the way he worked and the way he hustled, I thought he was a machine. I hardly ever saw him take a break or sleep. And so my work ethic is probably not the most, natural, maybe not even always the most healthy, because my father had a very clear understanding of what his responsibility was, and that was to
Purpose driven.
very purpose driven, right? So, and having that purpose, he knew he had to protect, he had to provide, he had to prepare us. And so I've taken those positive elements from his work ethic, I've applied it to mine in my life, and I'll always remember one of the key phrases he would always tell us. No matter how difficult it is, he would always say, "Son, it's just work."
Right.
And he would use those Southern axioms, don't make a mountain out of a molehill. But I owe a great deal of gratitude of my life existence to him, the way he loved us, the way he loved my mother, the way he loved community, and the way he was so driven to make sure that he left us with something more than he had. And in this role as father, but as mayor, it is my purpose to leave more than what I inherited.
Very inspiring. You faced many personal losses, including the passing of your mother. How did that experience shape your views on grief and emotional healing?
Yeah, look, I miss her dearly. There are times when I'm going through specific challenges as mayor, or dealing with challenges of being married and raising a family. I think about her comfort, the warmth that she brought, her humor, her creativity. My mother had a 5th grade education and was an entrepreneur, represented individuals in front of judges, securing resources for families. She was truly an inspiration. Before she passed, the last time we saw each other and the last time I saw her alive, she looked me in the face and she said, and it was almost like it was clear that this was going to be our last physical touch on this side of the Jordan. She said, son, you're going to help a lot of people one day, and I want you to take care of yourself. And what that meant for me in very profound ways, because my mother did have many health issues, breast cancer, she had a rare heart disease, and she gave so much of herself. I think she realized before she passed that if we don't take care of our physical and mental health, then we can't be here for a sustained amount of time. And I believe she fulfilled her purpose. And I've learned how to take care of myself so that I can be better for other people. And the grieving process is an ongoing process. There are times when I miss her more. There are times when I'm grateful that she spoke into my life, giving me a heads up that one day I would influence and have such impact. I never imagined it this way, but I'm certainly glad that she was right.
I'm one of 13.
Oh, wow. So you already know.
Yeah, my mom had a huge heart as well, fed others, in the village,
It's funny that you mentioned that because, one of 10, and my mother would feed so many people. When my wife and I got married, she's an only child, and I would prepare the most loving meal that every Black household had growing up, and that was a pot of spaghetti.
I love spaghetti. My daughter loves spaghetti.
For very obvious reasons, right? I mean, I don't think our children appreciate why spaghetti was so inspirational in our households. And my wife would always say, how many people are you cooking?
Right. He never cooked good enough spaghetti.
Never could have
you eat it
spaghetti.
2-3 days later. Yes, sir.
Exactly.
Your father found stability and mental health later in life. How did you think he would feel knowing you playing a role in the reopening of the Roseland Health Hub?
Yeah.
Expanding mental health access for many of Chicagoans.
I'm glad you raised that. So my father, as he got older, and as I got older, I guess it's an adage that, the knowledge and the understanding that my father had that I could not appreciate until I got older. So I would tease him that he got a lot wiser as I got older, but it was one of those areas in our home where growing up in the 80s, 70s and 80s, that we were not always in tune with our emotions and our feelings. We weren't honest about them.
Right.
And my father held a great deal of grief and to some extent, anger and animus towards life. Life had been hard for him. And I believe as a result of that, he would shut down emotionally. And he would expect us to understand it even if it wasn't explained. Because that's the way it was, that was the pattern. Unfortunately, my older brother, Leon, who had a great deal of untreated trauma because just words were not expressed. And there was a lack of real understanding of the impact that trauma would have on us as a family growing up in maybe not the worst conditions, but conditions that were harsh nonetheless. Coming home and the water wasn't on, thank God for the orange extension cord from a neighbor's window to our window to keep electricity moving in our home.
So your service for the community is personal.
It's very personal. And, unfortunately, sometimes in the midst of these services, we neglect one another. My older brother had untreated trauma and died addicted and unhoused. When I became mayor, I made it, my drive and my purpose to make sure that we expand and extend and provide mental health services. Reopening the mental health clinic on the far south side in Roseland, I believe is one of the greatest accomplishments that we've had in my administration.
Yes, sir.
The first mayor since Mayor Harold Washington to actually add public behavioral mental health support services. And so we did it on the west side at the Legler Library, providing behavior and mental health support services there. We've expanded mental health services on the lower west side at the Pilsen Clinic. So this is very much personal. I don't want families to go through life without the mental health support that they need, because I've seen how it rips families apart and it leads to other harmful behavior, whether it's drug abuse, whether it's violence, gangs, all of that, I believe, can be prevented if we actually show up for our people. And I'm going to continue to show up for our people to ensure that when people are having mental health crises, that mental health professionals are showing up. So when people call 911 for support and it's a mental health crisis, no longer does a police officer show up, but a mental health crisis. We cannot criminalize addiction. We cannot criminalize mental health trauma. We actually have to treat it, and that's what I'm doing as mayor of Chicago.
We are in a month of Black History Month, and you spoke on the late Harold Washington, Mayor Harold Washington. He had a love and a passion out of this world for the community. And I see so much alike, I see a lot of resemblance. Rosa Parks once said, to bring about change, you must not be afraid to take the first step. You are a step taker. How has your faith helped you take those first steps toward change, personally and as a leader?
Yeah, that's a great question. My faith is something that I'm very vocal about. Again, my father was a pastor, my grandfather pastored a church, and, accepting, God's call on my life to be of service to other people, that is the greatest honor that I believe one could have bestowed upon them.
Totally agree.
So I lean on my faith quite a bit. I often talk about, Matthew 6:21, where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. And what has provoked me to lead in such a bold way is because I don't have to worry or be afraid of the circumstances that are in front of me, because I trust that I'm fulfilling the purpose that God has planted and that has placed it as a heart's desire. And so when I think about our investments in young people, for instance, where we have created more opportunities for young people, a 43% in job opportunities for young people. This coming summer, 2025, we're going to have 29,000 positions available for young people for summer jobs, man. So, and it's really my faith that guides me. That Jesus, the Christ, made it very clear that we suffer the little children who come unto Him, right? And that if we cause young people to stumble, Jesus said, you're better off tying a millet around your neck and jumping in the lake. That was death by execution back in the biblical times. And so causing a young person to stumble, Jesus described that you're better off dying by execution. And so I take it very seriously.
Yes, sir.
When we talk about investing in our young people and creating opportunities for them, because I believe that is an example of the kingdom of God on earth as it is in heaven, as we give unto the least of these, and particularly our young people.
Which leads me into this next important question.
Okay.
How does it feel being a rose that has risen from concrete, overcoming obstacles many thought couldn't be conquered?
Yeah, it's a great question. I don't really, honestly, I don't think about it much every single day. I mean, I think, again, going back to how my father just instilled a strong work ethic in us, and how my mother was so gracious with her time and energy, that serving people was just a part of who we were and who we are. I remember in my grandfather's basement, and my mother was in charge of, passing out the government resources. We would call it, commodity and government cheese back in the day, but, those boxes of flour and raisin and that big can of pork. And
I know it very well, coming from the Robert Taylor Housing Project. Yes, sir.
My mother was a part of that leading effort to make sure that families walked out of there with those boxes so that they had a little bit for the month. When I think about just from whence I come, it's a true testament of what's possible through the power of prayer, hard work, and having people around you that love you and support you. There's nothing that I'm doing in isolation. I'm here because there was a village that poured into me.
Right.
There were loving parents who poured into me. And now I have the honor of not just serving as mayor, but having 3 beautiful children, a beautiful, loving wife that I get a chance to represent and to reflect I believe that which is perfect, and that is the honor and the love of what family brings to society.
We talking family. I think my daughter have a final question for you.
It works for me. I hope it's not a hard one.
Where is Ella? Ella, can you come and get Amir the final question?
Hi, Ella. How are you doing? Good, good.
What are some of your favorite ways to spend time with your daughter and create special memories?
Oh, wow. That's a great question. So some of my most precious moments with my daughter, and her name is Brayden. She's 10 years old. So we both share a love for cheese. And so just sometimes just over a meal, she really enjoys, believe it or not, I'm actually pretty good at making macaroni and cheese. And my daughter just loves that. And so we get a chance to connect and bond over a meal and over our love for each other, but over a meal, and particularly our favorite dish, cheese. Now I'm trying to get her to spend a little bit more time with me in public. And so we're working through that because of course she wants to spend a little bit more time with her friends, but our best memories and moments are just being together at home and enjoying each other's company, especially over a meal and especially over macaroni and cheese.
We also would like to present you with a painting. The young fella that I am currently mentoring, he's an artist, and I'm giving him a canvas, a space to create. And one of the things he create, we're gonna present to you. He's gonna present it to you.
Come on.
And it's a beautiful art.
Oh, wow. Wow. Man, this is beautiful. Look at this. Well, you really know how to express yourself. Wow. Man, thank you so much.
No problem. No.
Man, this is powerful.
Insane, right?
It really is. I mean, just the imagery, the reflection, and the accuracy, the connectivity.
Do you remember this day?
It's almost surreal the way you
I was so
captured it.
I gotta give all gratitude to my mentor, whose name is Rob Roach. He made this. I watched this get made. You appointed someone by the name of Kanae Hespeth.
Yeah, that's right.
She brought some of my first two paintings. One of them is sitting in her office.
Wow. And then she brought me this one.
I started selling my artwork on 53rd Street with this brother right here. I seen him upload a photo. I'm trying to fight back tears. Of a grand opening. Next to him is the mayor. I'm somebody that was just hustling on 53rd Street with the same brother. I had to give him his roses. Everything in my body, my ancestors, my spirit told me to paint that painting right away. I tagged him in a photo, something I would never do. Ancestor said, do it. He told me, come down to my shop. Just lost all my paintings and clothes, like everything I've lost, ever owned in a fire. He said, go find you a suit. To my last few bucks, he said, I'm gonna take you up to the mirror. I thought he was crazy at this point. I'm like, I'm gonna hear him out, cause I'm like, man, we used to sell art together, but what? Man, no, literally within hours, I was shaking your hand. Now I'm staring at one of the paintings that survived. Like, it's so surreal.
Congratulations, first of all. Your love for humanity is coming through in this art.
Thank you.
And thank you for your gift, this gift that you have, that you share with others.
Wow.
Again, just my own faith, don't bury it, right? Multiply it, right? Because that is the kingdom as well. When we take our gifts, we express our purpose through our gifts, we transform lives. So I'm blessed because of the gift that you have, and I'll make sure that I share this with everyone that I come in contact with. So all the best, brother. Man, this is great. Wow.
So we want to thank
So
you.
I see you got the scissors. Yeah.
The grand opening.
Grand opening.
IAMDAD365.
So we want to thank you, Mayor, for taking a moment of your precious time. We know how much you do for the city. We know how much you service the city. And I want to thank you for everyone, all of Chicago. Thank you so much for coming out.
Oh, thank you. Right on. I am Dad.